After studying this module, you shall be able to know various types of congenital malformations, dysplasias, osteogenesis imperfecta, spinal defects, scoliosis, clefting, cleft lip, cleft palate and combined cleft lip and palate. To introduce you the topic, the structural or functional abnormalities which may occur during intrauterine life are known as congenital anomalies. They are also called as congenital malformations or birth defects. Identification of these can be made prenatal, at birth or later in life. They have variety of causes such as pregnancy, birth complications, genetic malformations or viral infections. Sometimes the cause of these anomalies is not known. Various genetic and environmental issues may result in these congenital anomalies. Various errors of infection, epigenetic modifications, morphogenesis or chromosomal abnormality leads to such defects. According to previous studies, mother's and father's diet, glucose levels before ovulation and conception, vitamin intake lead to long-term effects on growth of the fetus. Father's food habits, germline mutations, alcohol use, chemical mutagens, age, smoking habits and epigenetic alterations can also lead to such anomalies. The congenital anomalies are broadly divided into three categories: the isolated conditions, the generalized conditions and the spinal deformities. So, we will take one by one. Isolated conditions. These conditions are divided on the basis of their anatomical location. These conditions may or may not occur together with other different types of congenital anomalies. Like we take one by one. So, let us take first shoulder girdle. It is usually related to congenital anomalies of cervical and upper thoracic spine. It is also known as Klippel-Feil syndrome. It can be unilateral or bilateral. When it is due to birth trauma of brachial nerve plexus, then it is found unilateral only, but if it is due to the hypoplasia of glenoid due to growth disturbance, then it is found bilaterally. Then the second deformity is the Madelung deformity or the wrist maldevelopment. Their V-shaped deformity of wrist is known as Madelung deformity, which is caused due to growth disturbance of the medial aspect of the distal epiphysis. This is mostly found in females and is commonly revealed in teenage years. The main reason for its occurrence is the localized trauma or infection which causes premature fusion of part of the growth plate. These wrist maldevelopments may go together with other bone dysplasias like endochromatosis and diaphyseal ecclesis. Then there may be duplication, hypoplasia and agenesis of the upper limb bones. Various congenital upper limb anomalies can be encountered from minor to severe ones. One of them is duplication of bones. Others may include hypoplasia and agenesis, which affects the upper limb bones in diagonal or longitudinal manner. Some syndromes which are associated with congenital heart disease may show radial hypoplasia. Synostosis, that is the congenital fusion of bones, is mostly found in the wrist. Then there may be congenital dysplasia of the hip. One of the most common site of congenital dislocation is the hip joint. This type of congenital dislocations is common in Caucasians as compared to China and other parts of Africa. Ball and socket joint is present in the hip. If the ball of the femoral head is not retained within the socket during growth, the acetabulum will fail to develop and will appear abrupt and narrow. A false acetabulum with lateral ilium is developed if congenital dislocation of hip is imperfectly treated. Since femoral head will migrate upwards, this false development will take place. Then there is a disease, leg calf Perthes disease or the coxa plana. It is also known as Perthes disease. Proximal femoral epiphysis undergoes osteonecrosis in children between the age of 4 to 8 years, which leads to this disease. Occurrence of this disease varies with geographical area and is commonly seen in boys. In about 10% of the cases it is bilateral, but it does not start at both sides at the same time. Symmetric radiographic appearances cannot be observed and it becomes an important feature in differentiating between leg calf Perthes disease and other conditions like cretinism or epiphyseal dysplasias with a fragmented proximal femoral epiphysis. In advanced stages of this disease, increased sclerosis, flattening and fragmentation of proximal femoral epiphysis can be seen. Secondary growth disturbances of the acetabulum and irregularity of the proximal femoral metaphysis is observed in severe cases. Another condition is the slipped upper femoral epiphysis. It is also known as slipped capital femoral epiphysis, which occurs mostly in the adolescent period. The femoral head gradually slips posteriorly, medially and inferiorly with respect to the neck of the femur. Due to shear stress, this slip occurs when growth plate is weak. Most commonly seen in boys as compared to girls, and in about 30% of the cases it is bilateral. Some of the observations include blurring of growth plate, decreased height of femoral epiphysis and medial migration. The slip is readily apparent on the frog lateral projection. Then the next condition is the proximal focal femoral deficiency. It is a rare congenital anomaly which is characterized by fluctuating degrees of hypoplasia of the proximal third of the femur. Then there is congenital tibia vera or the Blount's disease. It is a condition which affects the development of medial portion of the proximal tibial growth plate. It is of two types, unilateral and bilateral. In case of improper growth of medial tibial epiphysis and metaphysis, progressive deformity of knee develops. In case of premature fusion of the medial aspect of the proximal tibial growth plate occurring due to inflammation, which may be infectious or non-infectious, or trauma, a similar type of deformity can be observed. Then there is a condition ball and socket ankle. In this disease, the ankle joint develops into a ball and socket appearance. The curved articular surface of lower tibia and upper talus can be seen. Then there is a condition Talipes equinovarus, or also called as club foot. Hind foot equinus, the forefoot varus or the hind foot varus and high arch are some of the deformities which can be seen in the neuromuscular disorders as well. Then there can be vertical talus. It is a congenital anomaly with extreme plantar flexion of the talus and dorsal dislocation of the navicular, and it leads to rigid flat foot. Then tarsal coalition. A single structure is formed by fusion of two or more tarsal bones in this anomaly. The fusion may be complete or incomplete, and the bridge formed may be osseous, cartilaginous or fibrous. In spite of the fact that it is a congenital disease, its symptoms appear in adolescence or the early adulthood. Fusion of the middle subtalar joint between the calcaneus and talus is most commonly seen. The occurrence of multiple variations can be seen in this. Then there may occur duplication, hypoplasia and agenesis of foot bones. The various types of congenital abnormalities of bones of foot can be seen similar to upper limb disease. It includes duplication, agenesis and hypoplasia. Since the functioning of the foot is less sophisticated as compared to upper limb, the problem caused are comparatively fewer. After seeing the isolated conditions, let us see the generalized conditions. The various rare birth defects are present which can affect the skeleton to a huge extent or maybe less extent. Most of them are very rare and require little mention. The radiographs are required for establishment of correct diagnosis. They are generally classified as skeletal dysplasias. Most conditions fall into the following broad categories such as dysplasia with predominantly epiphyseal involvement, with or without spinal involvement, then dysplasia with predominantly metaphyseal involvement, again with or without spinal involvement, then dwarfisms, storage diseases, inherited metabolic disorders, dysplasia with reduced bone density, dysplasia with increased bone density, tumor-like dysplasia and malformation syndromes. Some of the common conditions are like multiple epiphyseal dysplasia. Premature degenerative changes are caused due to symmetrical irregular growth of epiphysis. Then there may be achondroplasia. It is the most common type of short limb dwarfism. The proximal segment of the limbs are shorter than the distal segment. For example, femur is shorter than the tibia and fibula. The flared metaphysis and the normal epiphysis can be observed with shortened long bones. The iliac bones appear squared with horizontal acetabular roofs. The interpedicular distance increases from upper to lower limb in normal individual, but in this condition it decreases. Adult achondroplastic dwarfs have more chances of developing multiple level spinal canal stenosis which cause nerve root irritation, paraplegia and paraparesis. Then there is a condition osteogenesis imperfecta. Bone density is severely reduced in this condition. It is a connective tissue disorder basically. Due to reduction on the bone density, over-tabulation of long bones and multiple fractures can occur which have slow healing and leave marked residual deformity. There are various forms of the disease. Babies suffering from severe condition are usually stillborn or die early. Infants who survive have less severe form. Then there may be sclerosing bone dysplasias. A focal or generalized sclerosis of bone can occur because of number of bone dysplasia. Multiple small bone islands clustered at both ends around the joints known as osteopoikilosis, variable amount of cortical and osteal new bone formation likened to the pattern of dripping candle wax known as melorheostosis, generalized bone sclerosis resulting in brittle bones with an increased tendency to fracture known as osteopetrosis. The distribution of bony sclerosis can exhibit a mixed pattern combining features from two or more known as mixed sclerosing bone dysplasia are included in it. Then there may be tumor-like dysplasias. Multiple osteochondromas, multiple enchondromas and polycystic fibrous dysplasia are included in this category. Individuals with diaphyseal achalasia and Olier's disease have a small risk of malignant transformation of one of their lesions to a low growth. Then let us see the spinal deformity. The scoliosis, which is the commonest one. Scoliosis may be idiopathic, congenital, neuromuscular and others which include trauma, infection and tumors. Idiopathic scoliosis, almost 70% of the cases of scoliosis are of idiopathic origin. It is of three types depending on age presentation, that is infantile, juvenile and adolescent. 85% of the cases are seen in adolescent, in which number of girls affected is comparatively more than the boys. It usually involves the thoracolumbar spine with the convexity of the principal curve to the right. Then congenital scoliosis. About 10% of the cases of scoliosis are of congenital origin. It is caused due to underlying congenital vertebral abnormalities. The hemivertebra, that is failure of formation of vertebra, or the spina bifida, that is the failure of segmentation of vertebra, are included in it. There is a recognized association of congenital scoliosis with other abnormalities such as tethering of the spinal cord and diastematomyelia, that is the bony or fibrous bar across the spinal canal. Then clefting. During the gestation period, facial and oral malformations can occur which result in cleft lip and cleft palate or both. Formation of lips occur between 4 to 7 weeks of pregnancy. If insufficient tissues is present in the mouth or lip area and the tissue available does not join properly, it results in clefting. Let us see cleft lip. The physical split or separation of two sides of upper lip which appear as a small gap in the skin of the upper lip is known as cleft lip. It usually extends beyond the base of the nose. Bone of upper jaw or gum are included in it. It can be categorized as incomplete or partial cleft lip in which the top of the lip has a small gap and complete cleft lip in which the gap continues till the nose. It can be unilateral, that is present one side only, or bilateral, that is present on both sides of the upper lip. Then cleft palate. When there is a split or opening in the roof of the mouth, that is the palate, then it is known as cleft palate. It may involve hard palate or soft palate. Cleft palate can occur as complete, in which gap is present in soft and hard palate, possibly including a gap in the jaw, or incomplete, in which there is a hole in the roof of the mouth, usually as a cleft soft palate. It can also be unilateral or bilateral. Then there is a cleft lip and cleft palate. Third condition, combination of both. They can occur on both sides of the mouth. Since the lips and palate develop separately, it is possible to have only cleft lip or cleft palate or both. In case of cleft lip and cleft palate, both the lip and palate have a split. It can occur on one or both sides of the mouth. To summarize the topic, Structural or functional abnormalities which may occur during intrauterine life are known as congenital anomalies. These are also called as congenital malformations or birth defects. Congenital anomalies are broadly divided into three categories: isolated conditions, general condition and spinal deformities. Isolated conditions are divided on the basis of their anatomical location, and these conditions may or may not occur together with other different types of congenital anomalies. Various rare birth defects are present which can affect the skeleton to a huge or less extent. Achondroplasia is the most common type of short-limbed dwarfism. Bone density is severely reduced in osteogenesis imperfecta. Scoliosis may be idiopathic, congenital, neuromuscular and others which include trauma, infection and tumors. During the gestation period, facial and oral malformations can occur which result in cleft lip, cleft palate or both. The physical split or separation of two sides of the upper lip which appear as a small gap in the skin of the upper lip is known as cleft lip. When there is a split or opening in the roof of the mouth, that is the palate, then it is known as cleft palate. In case of cleft lip and cleft palate, both the lip and palate have a split.